This is Darkest Dungeon. I started playing this quite some time ago, and I always managed to get myself stuck. I wasn't very good necessarily at making the correct decisions early on to give my little band of adventurers the best chance of surviving. Technically, it's really hard to lose Darkest Dungeon, but I would get into a state where I just couldn't really progress any further. I was going to fail at whatever I tried. But luckily, I'm not the only person here. Cloudcraft Games, my sort of longtime collaborator, who we haven't done anything together in a while just because I've been, I don't know, cloistered in quarantine and feeling, antisocial. But Cloudcraft is very good at sort of working out the systems in games like this, and so he's joined me today. Hello, Cloudcraft.
Hello.
Yep, there's Cloudcraft.
Yeah, I was actually, my first few games of Darkest Dungeon probably went about as poorly as yours did. I just want to put that right out there, because this is not an easy game to learn. In addition to being a hard game, and having a lot of randomness, both in the input and the output, the game kind of has three big barriers to learning it. And one of them is your kryptonite, which is it actually expects players to, read what things do and look at their numbers, which is kind of essential to being good at the game.
Yeah, I tend to skip as much of that as possible, which I think serves me well when it comes to, when I need to over-communicate stuff in my work. I'm the one who's also really bad at receiving the communication. So I think it can be helpful, but at the same time, it makes it harder for me to get into games like Darkest Dungeon.
The good news for you is there's not that much in the way of text you need to read, but there is a lot of details of what this skill does and stats.
Cool. So the reason I got interested in Darkest Dungeon is because I think a trailer recently came out for the sequel, and if the sequel comes out, I really want to play it, and so I want to kind of have reminded myself what's good about the original game. So Cloudcraft is kind enough to come in and sort of give me a tour.
So the other two big things. One is that there's a lot of bits of the mechanics and the strategy that the game doesn't call attention to or aren't very intuitive. Mm-hmm. So, technically that information is there for you to see, but you need to actually, observe it, or just it expects you to do things that aren't necessarily, they don't make sense on the surface.
I mean, Darkest Dungeon is a game that it's unlike a lot of other games in a lot of ways, and so I think you just come in with your habits from other games. They won't be very helpful at helping you figure out what's going on in Darkest Dungeon in particular.
Yeah. But there is one other thing. So, the first one is a you problem. The second one is a game design decision that just makes it less accessible. The third one is just a design failure, which is there's some mechanical info you really should have that the game just doesn't tell you at all, ever. You just have to observe and figure it out over the course of multiple things. And hopefully I can show a few specific examples.
Okay, cool. Well, should I click the letter and get into it?
Yeah. So I'm going to be trying to avoid, for the most part, design analysis, which I usually do, in favor of tutorializing. Okay, so as soon as you started, it asks you, what DLC do you want enabled?
Yeah, so Cloudcraft told me that the DLC
was... I'm sure you have the info.
Yeah, the DLC was on sale recently, and so I just grabbed it all. I don't know what any of this stuff is.
Yeah, okay, so let's go through it. So by default, it's all enabled, which is terrible for you.
Should I turn it off?
The Butcher... Let's go through each one. So the Butcher's Circus, that is almost entirely isolated from the main game. That's player versus player arena stuff.
Boy.
It doesn't matter if you have that turned on or not. We'll get to the Crimson Court in a moment. So the Shield Breaker is a free DLC. It's a new character class, and so is the Flagellant, but that comes from the Crimson Court DLC.
Okay.
They're both fun to use. They both have kind of unique mechanics to them. They're a little bit more advanced than most of the others to learn. So I would recommend turning them off for now, but I usually turn them on immediately in my games because they're fun. It's just they've got their own little mechanics.
Can I just decide? Can I leave them on and then just decide not to recruit them at first?
Oh, right. Let me explain. So the way this works is basically any DLC you enable at the start is enabled for the rest of the game, but at any time you can, well, not at any time, every like week in game when you're just sitting in town doing your management stuff, you can enable any DLC you want, and that's enabled for the rest of the game.
Okay, cool. Well then, yeah, who cares?
Yeah. So you just keep them off for now, but once you have a decent grasp of like party building, you can turn them on and play with them. I think they're both very fun.
All right, cool. What about the others?
Districts is another thing that came with Crimson Court. There's no reason to turn it off. They're basically, you won't get to use them really in the early game, but they're basically like more things that you can upgrade and build in town that will make the game a little easier in some ways.
All right.
Then there's the two big ones. So Color of Madness and Crimson Court are both, they create new locations. They add a bunch of new trinkets to the game, which we'll get to those while we play. And those locations kind of play with the mechanics a little bit.
So should I leave them off to keep it simpler, or leave them on?
We'll get to it in a moment. So here's the thing. Most of what they do to affect the world that isn't their specific locations you choose to go to sometimes will only trigger once you start doing missions in them. So technically you could leave them on and there'd be no problem. In fact, with Color of Madness you can. Although you can't really take advantage of either of them until you get to the mid-game.
Okay, so...
The thing is, Color of Madness, like, it doesn't pressure you into doing it. Once you do it, you can relatively easily avoid the way it makes the rest of the game harder.
Okay.
Crimson Court. So the moment you have Crimson Court enabled, it's going to start pressuring you to start it with a town event that is very bad that just repeats every single week. And the difficulty difference between Crimson Court on and Crimson Court off. So imagine you're playing, this isn't going to be a great analogy. Imagine State of Decay 2 playing Nightmare Zone, except that Plague Zombies and Blood Plague and Plague Hearts, none of that exists. Mm-hmm. And Crimson Court is making all of that suddenly exist.
Okay, got it, yeah.
It makes the game significantly harder. So yeah, you can keep Color of Madness on, you can keep Districts on, and it's fine to have those character classes on once you have basic idea of party building.
Right.
For now, keep them off just because I don't want to have to explain them if you randomly roll them early.
Okay, sounds good. So should I hit this button down here?
Yes, go for it. Okay, so now you choose difficulties, but not really. So, going through Darkest is kind of the base difficulty, the one that's balanced around the one the game shipped with. Mm-hmm. It's very hard. It's also relatively grindy, though you have to kind of enjoy the moment to moment in this game to really get into it. Mm-hmm. Stygian is harder, and more importantly, you can actually lose. There's a time limit, well, not like real time, but in-game time, and if 12 heroes die, you lose.
Oh, okay. Wow. So you can't just keep replenishing your ranks, like you've got lives.
Well, you can if you're dismissing them, but not if they die.
Right, yeah, totally.
Radiant looks like easy mode. It's not really easy mode. The main two things Radiant does is it speeds up progression a bit, and it relaxes some of the restrictions on what heroes can go on what missions.
I'm interested in that. The what heroes go on what missions. I feel like that's where I would fall down, is I would run into a case where I literally there wasn't a mission that I could put together that felt like it made any sense, partly because of restrictions.
So we're going to be playing on Radiant, but I want to emphasize Radiant is not easier than Darkest, except for this one tiny, tiny buff that barely matters.
Okay. Well, good. I won't feel shame.
And it also, when you're playing Radiant, once you hit the mid game, it feels like you're actually under a lot more pressure than Darkest, and there's some slightly iffy design stuff going on that isn't great. So moment to moment, Darkest is better, but we're playing Radiant because of the progression.
Okay, that sounds good. Should I click it?
Yep.
All right. We're gonna call this, I don't know, Cloudcraft. That's not how you spell Cloudcraft. Oh, that's weird. Look at what the cursor does. It shifts the text. It's so strange. Okay.
There are many strange decisions in this game.
All right, so how do I make it go? Click it. There we go.
You click it again.
So I've deliberately turned down the volume, so it might be hard to hear the narrator. I just wanted to make sure that Cloudcraft and I
You
were
will
easy to hear.
arrive along the old road.
Yeah, I'm just going to be quiet for the
Quiet
narration.
troubling, serpent-like suggestion through the corrupted countryside.
Except when I don't know what's happening.
Leading only, I fear, to ever more tenebrous places. There is a sickness in the ancient pitted cobbles of the old road, and on its writhing path you will face viciousness, violence, and perhaps other damnably transcendent terrors. So steel yourself, and remember there can be no bravery without madness. The old road will take you to hell, but in that gaping abyss, we will find our redemption.
This game has got such a style to it. Like, it sounds like, yeah, like I don't know, some old school like horror TV series from the 1950s or something like that. The way that it's announced.
You actually don't have any idea how deep it goes. It's throughout the whole game. Like, this is very much Lovecraftian.
Yes, and I'm a huge fan of Lovecraftian style horror, so that makes me, you know, I'm not actually into horror as a general rule because it scares me, but if I had to choose a type of horror, it's the, like, you know, we are powerless against the abyss type horror that entertains me the most, so.
Yeah, so I don't know how much you remember, so feel free to read all the tutorial pop-ups as they come.
Yeah, so basically you start in these little side-scrolling rooms, I remember, and leaving the room, you just click to the right, your characters move.
You might want to put your picture in the upper right.
Okay, that works. And so when you get
for adventuring, yeah.
When you get to a door, it opens up this map down here and gives you the option to move to the next room. So the map is top down, but each room is depicted as a side-scrolling space.
One other thing, I don't know how it is on the stream, but for me, the bottom of the game is cut off.
Oh, interesting. I think that might just... I don't think that's happening on the stream. I think that might just be happening in...
Okay, if it's just for me,
Google.
that's fine.
Okay, so I'm going to click on this next room, right?
Brigands have run
Yep.
up these
So,
lanes.
the way
Keep
this
to the
works,
side path.
basically,
The
there's
hamlet is just ahead.
not technically a time mechanic, but for simplicity's sake, I'm going to say every time you move through one of those squares, it advances time. And
That
then
makes sense. There's a
sometimes
chance
you
of an
find
event
stuff
happening, right?
in those squares. Technically, no, but basically, yes.
Like this event.
Technically, it's all
Send this
generated
trailer
ahead of time.
message. The rightful
All right, so
owner
combat
has
is turn-based. We
returned,
click a
and
skill and we
their
click on the
kind
target.
is no longer
If you
welcome.
can't select a skill, it's because the hero needs to be standing in a different spot or there's no valid targets. That's the thing that was always interesting to me about this game is I had never considered doing a side-scrolling tactical game like this where you stand really makes a difference. And there's a lot of games since this that have sort of imitated this style, like Warsaw, for instance, is an example of it. But so okay, so I've got these two characters, but I have to. The game chooses which one I'm playing in any given time. It chooses a turn order, right?
So, so it's actually a really simple turn-based thing. It just doesn't make it immediately obvious. So you see next to everyone's health bars how there's these golden vertical bars. Oh, that's interesting. On Google, your mouse is not where it actually is.
Oh, you know what?
but I
I'm
can
seeing
see
the same thing. Oh, that's really strange.
That's going to be annoying.
My
for the
cursor is
stream if we
offset.
can't
Oh, that's
fix
so
that.
bizarre. Why is that happening?
Probably Darkest Dungeon.
Oh, that's so weird. I wonder if there's something I can
and
do.
Look at the options.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to not go full screen.
There maybe not full screen. That might work too.
Let me see what happens if I don't go full screen. It didn't change anything.
Try.
Maybe is this one of those games where you have to reset it in order, like, start the game over from
I
scratch?
have no idea. I've never streamed this game. Maybe control options?
Maybe. Oh, this is weird. Well, we're running into a fun bug here. This is what I like to do with my own game too. Yeah, I get. You know what? What I could try using a controller. See what that's like.
No,
So it's
no,
not disconcerting.
that would slow us down too much. Also, because you really don't want to do that because so many things have mouse hover tooltips.
Oh well, I mean, it looks like I've got cursor hover tooltips as well.
Well,
but,
yes, but how
not
do
the
you,
things I
how
can't
do you
select.
Hover? Yeah, there's tons of things you can't select.
Like
it's
these
a
are right
really
down here.
bad
I
idea.
can't select these, but
Yeah. Like, you can hover over all of your stats to see modifiers to them. You can, when there's buffs and debuffs, you can hover over those to see what they are. Like, you kind of need to be able to mouse hover.
Okay,
so
I guess
we'll just
imagine my
bad
cursor
mouse.
is about a third of the screen to the upper left. We'll just deal with it.
Okay. So as I was saying, so those little gold bars next to the health bars, those indicate that that person has a turn they haven't taken yet.
Gotcha.
And the person that's currently selected for you doesn't have one because they're now using their turn up.
That makes sense.
So everybody will get a turn before the next round goes. It's just their speed and a random roll that determines who goes in what order.
So they do have a speed stat that will make them more likely to show up early, but it's not guaranteed.
Yeah, but they still won't get like 2 turns before somebody else gets 1.
Right, that makes sense. So,
Okay.
So Dismas here, my highwayman, he's got a couple of different actions that he can take, and I remember this part that basically right below. Unfortunately, I can't point at it with my cursor, but right below the icon, you can see the placement dots. Right, there's little white, there's 3 white dots on the left. The 3 like sort of pale yellow dots on the left say he must be standing in one of these 3 positions in order to use this ability. And on the right you got the red dots that say the targets for this are enemies in those 2 red positions.
Yeah. And
So, yeah.
reading these are the most important thing to read in the game, to read every single thing that a skill does.
Yeah.
Like, you want to see how accurate is it. The damage mod I'll explain once we get into town.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, if it's a lower damage, if it's a minus 15%, it does less than some other attacks that don't have that. although
Gotcha.
you
So
don't have
this
it.
grape shot blast, for instance, you can see in sort of the target area that it'll hit 3 enemies at once, but its damage mod is minus 50%, so it does half normal damage for this character.
Yeah.
Whereas this
also
move, yeah, go ahead.
a little note on those attacks that hit multiple enemies at once. Those can sometimes hit enemies you can't otherwise hit because you can't normally target them, like enemies that are guarded or that have stealth on them.
That makes
That
sense.
doesn't matter that much for right now, but just pointing out that's a thing.
Gotcha. And so this it'll hit a bunch of guys and make them more vulnerable to criticals. Whereas this one does more damage to just one target at a time. And it also reduces their resistance. It does bleeding and reduces their resistance to bleeding and slows them
Yep.
down. So I think this one feels like the better move right now because it does more damage to this one target, and bringing him down as fast as possible feels like my priority.
Yep.
So I'm gonna click that, click the target.
So you've already made a mistake.
Oh, no.
It wasn't the skill you picked, though. It wasn't any action you took. Do you know what the mistake was?
No idea.
You didn't read the enemy stats.
Oh, what about him?
Anytime you hover over the enemy when you can select a skill, their stats will show up down below. So you can see protection, which is a % reduction in the damage you deal.
Okay.
Dodge, which your chance to hit is your accuracy minus their dodge, and then it rolls a D100 basically.
Mm-hmm.
Their speed, obviously, so you can kind of guess how fast they're going to go. Then their resistances to all the different types of status moves you can do on them, which, real important thing here. Those, you know how it says they have a percentage resistance?
Yes.
That's not a percentage. That lies. There's no multiplication going on here.
Okay.
Status effects work the same way as to hit works, which is that you have a chance to do the status effect, you subtract their resistance from your chance to do it.
Okay, so if I had 100% bleed, he's subtracting 0% bleed, so he's fully vulnerable to bleed. But if I was using a stun attack, this guy would have, if I had like a 75% chance to stun, this guy would be dropping that down to 50%.
Yeah, basically. Also, you can see under skills for the enemy. Any move you've seen them do before, you can see, and it doesn't tell you exactly what it does, but it has a little symbol to tell you any special effects they have.
So it's a debuff?
That down arrow is a debuff, and if you hover your mouse over the little debuff icon above your health bar, you can see what the debuff is.
Above my health bar. Oh, okay, so like my character's got reduction to bleed resist, and this guy also has reduction to bleed resist, and he's bleeding.
Yeah, and if you had multiples, they would stack, and you can see all of them.
Okay. So it sounds like I didn't actually make a mistake in my attack selection. The mistake was I wasn't being careful enough.
You always want to look at the enemy ahead of time, because imagine if you had like 2 attacks, one was a bleed attack and one did a little extra damage. This guy has protection, so your direct damage gets reduced by his protection, but your bleed damage doesn't.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, so this is one of those cases where I did select the right thing, but I selected it not for all the right reasons.
Yes.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Now I've got Reynald here, and he wants to smite somebody, maybe, or maybe do a... So Stunning Blow is going to be less likely to work with this guy because he's got stun resistance. But this one is just trying to do damage.
He doesn't have that much stun resistance. Also, though, Stunning Blow is slightly more accurate.
Oh, true.
And another thing, damage over time effects, by the way, are really powerful in this game. One of the reasons is they proc at the start of the turn of whoever's like bleeding
before they have a opportunity to act.
So they can kill them before they get to move.
I think I remember that. Okay, so I think it looks like it's kind of a wash between Stunning Blow and Smite. Like they both got advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try Stunning Blow just to see what happens. Probably murders him. There we go. By the way, I love the presentation of this game. The fact that it takes this very simple 2D graphics and makes them feel so impactful and dynamic by slamming them together really close to the camera. Like, it's not every 2D game sort of figures out ways to make it feel as impactful as something that is going for a more, say, realistic representation. Right, so we're gonna pick up some treasure. We've got some food. No, we already have food. We're picking up gold is what we're getting.
We'll talk loot and stuff like later when we're actually like going on a proper mission where you pick up more stuff. So there we go. Curios, yes.
So we've got a little curiosity here, so I can click on this. It says somebody camped here recently, and should I check inside the tent? Let's do it.
So for now, check inside the tent. We'll go over how to mess with curios more later.
All right. Yes, mine for the taking. Gold.
Are often low on supplies.
Right, I guess.
Leave nothing unchecked. There is much.
So you press up or W
there
to enter.
Oh no, monsters!
This thug in brutal fashion that all may
Okay,
hear
so
of your arrival.
whoa, they're shooting me first and doing a bunch of damage.
By the way, good standard practice, whenever you're moving, have the map open. Whenever you're in combat, have your inventory open. Because usually you'll have stuff in the inventory you can use during combat that doesn't actually take up any actions.
Right. Yeah, Jedi Side Tricks, we are still basically in the tutorial, so you've not really missed a thing.
So before you do anything, like before you select any skills, check the enemy stats.
Okay, that's right. So this guy is very resistant to stunning. And kind of moderate resistance to everything else. This guy is, not as resistant to stunning, but he's pretty dodgy. This guy's gonna be harder to hit than this guy is.
And also check what debuff he gave you.
He gave me a minus to dodge, so I'll be easier to hit with their subsequent attacks.
Yeah.
So
So another factor here is you need to consider your frontline guy right now. He can't hit the guy in the back line. He doesn't have any skills that can do that.
Okay, so I need to make
you don't
sure
have
that,
any way to move them around.
Yeah.
So consider that when you're choosing your moves.
Okay, so I'm still inclined, I think, to choose this move because these two, the chest isn't taking up space, right? These two guys are in the first two positions, right?
No. So the front guy actually takes up 2 positions.
Oh, that's right. Okay, these guys are together covering the first 3 positions. That's right.
Yes.
So I feel like Grape Shot Blast is probably a decent choice. It'll hit both of them. It'll definitely,
you can do that. I would discourage it because in this game, most enemy encounters, you want to be focusing down enemies. You want to be like either just putting as much damage as possible to make sure they die, or like doing a combination of damage and stunning them so that they don't get turns. Okay. So you either want to have your Dismas here, your backline guy, focusing down the other backline guy, or working with your frontline guy to kill the frontline guy.
All right, well, I'll take your advice. I'll start bleeding the frontline guy and see what happens. If we get to... Okay, so we get to move both of my guys before them.
Yeah.
So this guy's very resistant to stunning, so it seems like this might be a bad bet, going for the stunning blow.
It may be a bad bet. You still have a 50% chance, and stuns are really powerful.
Yeah.
But, so I would say it's actually between your smite, your stun, and your other skill, your skill that basically makes him tank.
Makes him tank? What do you mean? Oh,
so
like this one.
The shield icon. So read what that does.
So it marks my target, which does something? I'm not sure.
So before that, so see where it says self?
Yes.
Above that, anything that comes after self means it does that to you.
Oh, so I become the marked target. So I become the target
you.
that the enemy is focusing on?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, well...
So it won't guarantee they attack you, but it will be more than 50% likely that they target that person.
Okay, well, I'm curious about that, so let's just give that a try.
Like, instead of, like, doing whatever they normally do. They might still normally target him, too.
Yeah, so this guy's gonna... Whoa, he critted me. That went bad. Oh, and he knocked me back. So the fact that enemies can manipulate your stance, which means like where everyone is standing, which changes what abilities you have the ability to use. Notice Dismas, now that he's on the front line, has lost most of his ranged abilities.
Yeah.
He can only use open vein unless we want to move him, which takes a turn.
Luckily, this doesn't hurt you too much here because you're still focusing the front guy.
It's true.
I would, by the way, that buff that Dismas has, that move that buffs him, I would not use that in most normal encounters. Most of those I get stronger buffs are things you only want to use in long fights.
Gotcha. Okay, well, let's slash this dude. And it's going to take a while to take him down. And now we have blanket fire again. Luckily, we dodged it. Good. All right, so now, and by the way, for anyone who's joined us late, I apologize for that. For the fact that my cursor is mysteriously offset by a small amount, and so you're going to see my cursor moving around on the screen, doing weird stuff that it doesn't seem like it should be able to do. Okay, so luckily, all of my frontline attacks here allow me to do them from the second rank. So this guy has not been held up too much. I'm going to try a stunning blow on this guy, even though it only has a 50% chance, because if I successfully stun him, he was really dangerous to me last time, and so the chance of that is still pretty helpful. And was that a successful stun? Yes. Good.
Yep.
So now...
And stun works really well with damage over time attacks, because they still proc. Also, notice something. He got a buff when he came out of his stun, because he just happened to have his turn next. Look at what that buff is.
His stun is now... stun resistance is now plus 100%.
Yeah.
So he's way harder to stun again.
Stun is kind of a unique thing, in that every time someone like loses their turn to stun, for the next turn they have plus 50 to their stun resistance to stop you just stun locking people.
That makes sense. Yeah, I actually one of my one of my dumbest mistakes that I made as a game designer was I created a unit for Battle Nations that was a little bit too powerful of a stunning unit. It was called the Boom Bus. It would use sonic attacks that stunned enemies, and it became basically like a pro level strat to just fill your entire army with boom buses and just stun lock everyone as you slowly whittled their health down. So yeah, I know it's good that they're protecting against stun locking.
So don't attack here. I'm going to teach you like one of the little like tricky strats you can do just in combat. So see how he's got 1 HP and he's bleeding?
Yeah,
he
I
is
don't need
dead
to worry
already.
about him, do I?
So you could kill him with your attack, but one of the other reasons damage over time is really good is the enemies leaving bodies mechanic, which we'll see more of later. But if they die to a damage over time, they don't leave a body.
Oh,
and
interesting.
The bodies take up space to prevent like the enemy just getting moved around from someone dying. So if you let him die to the damage over time, the other guy gets forced to the front where you can hit him more, and because he's a backline guy, his best attacks he can't use when he's in the front.
Okay, so maybe I should just move Reynald to the front again as my move this time. And that's it. He gets his whole turn, but then this guy dies, and now I couldn't remember if people automatically shift to the front when front people die. But it looks like it sounds like they do.
They normally don't, because normally the front people leave a body.
But can I destroy those bodies in order to?
You can destroy those bodies. They will also expire on their own, but it takes several turns. And there's some moves that destroy the bodies. There's a lot of ways to manipulate the battlefield.
The best way is murdering all the enemies. So let's grab this emerald, a crest, and some gold. And I've completed a quest. After you've completed the requirements of a quest, you have the option to return to town at any time. Just click the crest. But you don't have to. You can wander around the map and still grab stuff that you missed. But I don't think there's anything left in this map, so let's just return to the hammer.
Well, there is a curio, but that curio is a lesson in read the text before you do anything.
Okay.
Because it's trapped.
Okay, wait, so should I stay here and check this thing out?
Go for it. It doesn't actually matter, because you'll return to town immediately.
Okay, so...
actually, maybe it gives you stress? I'm not sure. So you need to click on the curio, which is the chest.
The chest?
Yes, the chest.
Oh, I didn't... Wait, come here, chest. Oh, there it is. Bandit's trapped chest. Okay. So, do I have any way to, like... Oh, that's right. I could probably drag... There's probably tools that I can get.
Not with this one,
okay,
but with other things, yes.
So, okay, so,
we'll
it is possible
get to
for me to
that
invest
when
tools
we do
in
a
avoiding
proper
traps.
mission. Yes, but not with this one.
Well, I'm just going to get trapped.
And also, if you get hit by, like, a bad effect from, like, trying to open treasure or something, you're not going to gain treasure from it.
Oh, got it. Okay, so there was no benefit to me doing that. My guy's just poisoned, but hopefully...
No, but there's no real downside because you can just leave the quest and all the health stuff and status conditions recover immediately.
Okay, perfect.
As soon as you leave the quest.
So I've collected a bunch of heirlooms, I've collected some treasure, yay, and my characters have gained Resolve XP. They're both level 1.
Yes, which I will cover that later too.
Welcome home, such as it is. This squalid hamlet, these corrupted lands.
Yeah, so this doesn't matter that much, but basically on the left side you have a summary of what's happened every week in game. You go on a mission every week. And then on the right side you have a bunch of basically long-term goals that you You don't technically need to do these things to complete the game, but they're all very helpful for completing the game.
That makes sense.
So what we're going to do right now, like, you can go through all the buildings, look at their descriptions, do not upgrade anything.
Okay.
I will explain.
All right. By the way, folks in the chat are talking about Kena, Bridge of Spirits, or I think it's called Kena. I'm not sure. And talking about some of the really good reviews that it's getting and positive reception. I have downloaded Kena, Bridge of Spirits to my PS4. Unfortunately, I don't have a PS5, which is where people are talking about how beautiful it looks on PS5. I do want to try it out on the stream one of these days. Probably not today, because we got an agenda here with Cloudcraft.
Yeah,
I do need to get
through. We do need to get through at least 2 expeditions
we can do that.
Really cover everything. So yeah, this is the town screen where basically you do all your management and stuff and buying things before missions. You can't really do much on it right now. More buildings will unlock over the first few weeks of the game.
So do you want me to click through the ones that are here so we can talk about them?
Yeah, click through them, look at their description. I can explain a little bit about them.
So the stagecoach is where you recruit new heroes. I remember that much.
Yeah, so don't recruit them just yet because I have some things to say on the stagecoach. This is the most important building here, so just look at what the other ones do first, and then we'll talk stagecoach.
Come back. So here's the graveyard, fallen heroes. This could be a list of the people that I get killed, probably to get pretty long in the future.
Yeah, although with like a lot of the strategies I've been using, my latest game, I didn't get anybody killed until week 34.
Oh, well, congratulations.
So, I mean, you'll probably do a little worse, but if you, like, use good strategies with this, you can get through the whole game in theory without any, well, okay, not without anybody dying, but basically without anybody dying.
Are there, like, some bosses that just kill people outright as part of the experience?
There is one. But so this is basically all war stuff. This will record like all of those little cutscenes you get before certain missions, and for like every boss, there's kind of a story that gets told through the 3 parts of
Gotcha.
it. And also it records any like journal
Cutscene type
entries
things or-
pick up, which don't really matter.
Trinkets and charms
The Nomads
gathered
Wagon,
from
also
all the
known as
forgotten
don't
corners
use
of
this in the
earth.
early game, is not worth the money.
Because are you going to be just finding as loot and enough of this kind of thing? You don't really
So
need to buy it.
yeah, you will get, these are trinkets, which are basically they're accessories you can equip to your characters to modify their stats. They're really expensive for the money you have in early game, and also you get one every single mission.
So why not just pile those up and and try my luck rather than
Yeah,
spending
like
much money?
like if I see a really good one early on and I have a surplus of money, I might buy it. But you really want to know what's good when it comes to trinkets before you start buying any.
That makes sense.
So yeah, so you do basically the stagecoach every week. It will bring in new people. To start off, it only brings in 2, and this is a little weird. This is gonna be like my one big design criticism here. So the first mission that you just did, that is pretty much scripted.
Yeah.
Like there's some output randomness, but it's pretty much scripted. The first 2 guys that you got, they're like who they are, what skills they have, and their quirks are also set in stone. The next mission you're going to do is pretty much just planned out. These 2 people, they will always be the same classes, but they're otherwise randomized, which, because you've only got these 4 and because you don't have a way to unlock new skills yet, you can get a team with them. Like, this is a good team, these 4, but if they roll bad on their skills, you can get a team that is just objectively bad.
So it looks like I can't actually tell which combination of class skills each of these characters has before.
So you can actually. The game hasn't taught you yet, but right-click on them.
Oh, look at that. Okay, right click. There we go. Okay, so this
So
person...
let's see. Your Plague Doctor has a bad skill selection for a Plague Doctor.
Nice.
But since he's a Plague Doctor, he's still good.
Yeah, I mean, he's got an adorable nose, and that's really what matters.
Yeah.
One of my favorite pieces of UX in this game, by the way, is the preferred position, which I'm poorly... I'll try to point at it, even though I'm not really pointing at it on my game screen. The way that it sort of basically assesses their skills and where they have to stand for the skills to be effective, and then gives you sort of a heat map, basically, up here, of the potential best places to stick this character.
Yeah, as long as you're not using skills that move you around, that's a pretty reliable thing.
So this guy might end up being my 3rd-ranked character, unless somebody else
so
wants that better.
just to go over quickly what the classes do, your first guy, Reynald, he is a Crusader, which is kind of a general-purpose frontliner. He can tank, he can do good damage, he's got a stun, and he's got a few support skills that are kind of like off support. Your second guy, Dismas, he's a highwayman. Highwaymen are just general purpose damage dealers. Every single move they have is an attack, and they're very flexible in where they stand and can hit enemies anywhere. Then the next guy is a Plague Doctor. Plague Doctors. So Dismas is kind of a flexible, can stand in front or back attacker that does direct damage. Plague Doctors are backline attackers who do damage over time and have good stuns, and pretty much every one of their abilities is really good for something.
Gotcha. Yeah, it looks like they've got this
like,
one attack this guy's got this one attack that I'm poorly pointing at that hits the back rank, and then this attack that hits the front rank. So this particular guy can hit all the enemies, but he has to be standing in a very precise position in order to use both of these abilities.
Yeah. So
this one
the
is only front
unfortunate
3.
thing here is that 2 of these skills you do not want for general purpose use on Plague Doctor, because he has 2 really nice stun skills and a damage over time skill on the left that can hit enemies in the front and debuffs them.
Oh,
He's
gotcha.
like the best damage over time attacker in the game.
But I'm missing those key attacks.
But yeah, and you won't be able to unlock them for like 2 missions.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, so basically each of the classes has got this a specific set of 7 attack type or battle type skills, and then a set of camping skills, which I'm sure we're going to get to at some point. But by the way, that pattern of going back and forth between combat and camping, Darkest Dungeon was the first time I saw that, but I've also seen that mechanic imitated quite a bit by other games.
Yeah.
We
may not get to the camping skills. I'd like to, but we may not.
Okay, well,
anyway, so drag him in, and then we'll look at the last one and see. She's the one that can really roll bad on her skills.
Let's see. So she's got the mace bash.
Yep, she rolled pretty bad on her skills.
You know what? I love having parties of like, the runt of the litter. So I'm kind of happy about this. It's fine.
You don't in this game, not really. So Vestals. Vestals are usually backline, but sometimes they can be frontline. They're the best healers in the game, except this one isn't because she doesn't have Divine Comfort. So Vestals, like, they've got like 2 healing skills. Divine Grace, which it's a good, consistent single target heal, but then Divine Comfort is the best healing skill in the game because it's right to the right of Divine Grace. That heals everyone in the party, which is really powerful in this game. And
not
she can
by
do
that
it
much
from
less
the
than
third
Divine
rank.
Grace. So yeah, that's
or the
cool.
second. But yeah, and also she doesn't have her stun, and the rightmost one she has unlocked. Look at that. So notice how the main effect of that is bypass stealth and de-stealth.
Mm-hmm.
So stealth enemies don't show up in apprentice level missions, which is what we're going to be doing.
Okay. So she's just got the skill that won't be useful till later anyway.
Yeah, and even worse, her 2 attacks can't be used in the same positions.
I noticed that. The Mace Bash, you have to be in the frontline positions, and Judgment, you have to be in the back position. So I basically have to choose which side she's in. I'm probably going to choose the back line because she can then do Divine Grace from that position too.
Yeah, you're probably going to want the back line. So yeah, pull her in as well.
All right.
And then it doesn't matter the order you put her on this roster here. That doesn't determine their order in like
combat.
Anything.
Okay, cool. So we can upgrade the stagecoach if we wanted to have access to more people, but we probably
no, we do. We absolutely do. I told you to wait on upgrades. So let me explain. See on the bottom, right to the right of your money, on the bottom of the screen. So those first 4 things are different types of heirlooms. So from left to right, the head is called busts. The painting is called portraits. Then the paper is a deed or deeds, and then the shield icon is crests. These are the materials you use to upgrade the buildings in town to do what they do better or do more things. They are really important, and misspending them is one of the biggest mistakes you can easily make in the early game.
Okay, cool.
So the stagecoach, though, is actually a very good thing to spend on. So at the start, you want to spend 1 on Stagecoach Network, which increases the number of people the stagecoach gives you.
Gotcha.
So
this
what
one
we're doing
seems important too.
Yeah. So that one is important. You can upgrade the hero barracks now or later, but the hero barracks is actually more important than the stagecoach network.
I think
having
the hero
a
barracks
big roster
is probably where I got screwed up in some of my past games, where I would just not have enough characters that were in good enough shape to go on my next mission.
Yeah, that's the biggest mistake most people make, and we'll get to that because there's part of why you want to upgrade the stagecoach network is just to get more selection. But part of it is also that you're going to be rotating heroes out. I need to go back in there for
basically.
1 sec. Actually, no, I'll show you that after this mission.
So
but
should I hit him
basically, hold up.
Okay.
So you have an option with any hero. Right click on one of your heroes. The video is slow for me.
Oh.
Okay, so see in the upper left, so there's an option to change their name, and right below that there's an option to get rid of them forever.
Right, this thing. Okay.
That thing is a thing you will be using, because you will be dismissing the people who are less fit to replace them with new people regularly.
I don't know if I ever realized that was an option when I was a new player.
Yep, that is a core mechanic of the game. It is really important, especially for level 0 to 2.
Sorry, was this the one that you called at the beginning as being like something that is like ill communicated that players?
This
need
is
to do?
one of them. This is one of them. This is far from the only one.
Okay.
I'm hoping we get certain classes showing up so I can show you something. But yeah, that's real important. Because I'll go over why to dismiss people as we go. So yeah, now let's get on with the mission so we can keep. Actually, let me just check my notes, make sure I didn't forget anything really important.
I feel like Murdoch is kind of my kindred spirit here, because I also have imposter syndrome, and I'm also tuckered out all the time. And I'm on Holy Slayer.
He has imposter syndrome? Okay, so, as much as I love Plague Doctors, he is either going to sit in your roster after this mission till we get the ability to cure quirks, or he is getting dismissed. Imposter syndrome is one of the worst quirks in the game because it causes them to randomly pass turns.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, wow. That is just like real life. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right, so I should hit embark?
So yeah, go to the embark screen. Don't go to the next screen yet, but you can look around on the embark screen.
All right, so I would need to pick, first off, I would need to pick the order in which these characters stand, right?
Yeah, well, first you want to figure out where you're sending them, which you technically have two choices.
Yeah, but I'm not going after the main boss.
Well, technically it's not the main boss yet, but yeah, so a couple things I want to point out. So one is that, yeah, you've got this roster of 4 down below. You drag your characters in and out to determine who's in it, put them in different positions. You notice that name over the roster of characters you're using?
Usual suspects.
So some formations of like specific formations of heroes have specific names the developers gave them.
Oh,
it doesn't do anything, but it's cute. Usually, though, if you see one of those, you know for sure that it's a good formation.
Because somebody thought it through and figured out that this is, that makes sense.
Assuming you have the right skills. So something I want to point out, though. So you're hovering over this one mission that's available to you in the runes. Mm-hmm. So don't worry too much about the goal of this mission. There's 2 kind of generic mission types. Explore 90% of rooms and do all the room combat encounters, which the room combat encounters is almost always a little less time and a little less dangerous, but that doesn't matter that much. What matters here are the mission length, the mission level, and the rewards.
Okay.
So the mission length is short, which means there's going to be no camping and you don't need that many supplies. The level is Apprentice, which is level 1. Now, I want you to go and right-click on one of your 2 new people.
They're level 0.
They're level 0. They are under-leveled for this.
Okay.
What that means is that for every level below the appropriate level they are, as soon as they enter, they're going to take 20 stress, and they're going to have a multiplier that increases any stress they take.
So they're more scared because they're inexperienced, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we should underscore, by the way, I don't think we've talked about stress yet, that basically this is a kind of Cthulhu mythos inspired game. You've got your health, but you've also basically got your sanity to worry about, and that's a whole other thing.
Yeah. So if you went into the darkest dungeon right now, which is level 6, all of your party would go to 100 stress immediately and start freaking out.
Nice. Okay, cool. So let's not do that. Let's choose this mission instead.
Yeah. The other thing is with the rewards, the money you get is just determined by the mission type and length. You also get free heirlooms and a trinket.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
though you want to look at what those are when you're actually choosing between different ones, because those, your main deciding factors in which you do is what am I capable of doing, and are there heirlooms or trinkets that I really want?
Like, for instance, my Murdoch here might want to have a blight buffing trinket because he has his major attack is a blight attack.
Yeah.
And so maybe
does that buff blight attacks or blight resistance?
It says blight skill chance is what.
Okay, yeah, so that would be good for him.
Cool.
So yeah, now we can move on to provisioning, and I have a few more notes. We won't be as slow to start the next one.
Okay.
So This is just so with provisions, so you have to buy the stuff that you're going to be using to get by in the dungeon, and the game doesn't give you any hints as to how much you need.
Yes, that was a big problem I had early on.
So I have kind of a standard that I made sure to write down, but I'll also explain what each one does.
All right.
So food, most of these have like two functions. So food, you can use it between battles to do some healing. But its main function is that every so often you're going to get a hunger check, which means that everybody wants to eat. And if you don't have enough food for all of them, they're going to take a bunch of damage and stress.
Fun, okay.
You really don't want that to happen. So food is one of your two essentials for just getting through. The other essential is shovels.
Oh, because this keeps me from spending forever trying to break through obstacles and block my path.
With shovels, if you run into an obstacle and you don't have a shovel to clear it, you're going to take damage and stress.
Gotcha, okay.
So those are the two like essentials. So the bare minimum on a short mission that I would take is 8 food and 1 shovel.
So 8 food
bare
means that
minimum.
my entire party can eat twice.
Yes.
And then
and if you
did you say 1 shovel?
Yes. If you want to be especially safe, you take extras. If you don't have a good healer, you take extra food.
Okay. I think I have a decent healer.
So other than that, the other standard things that you always want, 6 torches.
Gotcha.
So if you have people with skills that increase or decrease the light level, you may want to adjust the number of torches you take. Like with this party, you could probably get away with 4, but I'm actually going to have you take 8 because I want to show you something later.
Okay. And then things like this.
So
these are items for getting past curios, right?
So they do. So keys are items for interacting with curios. All of the other items there, the antidote, the bandages, the herbs, and the holy water, they both have something where you can use them on your heroes and an interaction with curios.
Okay.
So you take them for both purposes. So if you just want enough to interact with all the curios, for any mission baseline, or any short mission baseline, 1 key, 1 herb, 1 holy water.
Should I grab that now?
Yeah, so grab that now. One more thing to cover, though, which is the curios and the threats you'll run into are going to be different in each area.
So I can get a sense of what I'm likely to run into because I know what area I'm going into?
I forgot to mention, you actually have a free holy water and a free antidote.
That's
Certain
right.
classes will give you free supplies when they're in the party.
So I imagine Reynald probably gave me this holy water, and maybe she gave me, or he did the venom.
So one other thing, which is because you're going into the runes, there's more stuff that uses keys and more stuff that uses holy water to interact with. So you want to have 1 extra key and maybe 2 extra holy water usually.
Okay, I'll go with that.
And one other supply item on there, which we haven't covered, the blue crystal stuff, don't worry, that's DLC stuff.
Okay.
The bottle with the skull on it is laudanum.
Oh, delicious.
So that has 0 curio interactions. Its only purpose is to cure horror, which is one of the worst status effects in the game because it is stress over time.
Oh, okay, got it.
You don't want to take laudanum on any apprentice missions because their horror isn't really a problem on apprentice missions.
Okay, so I won't bother right now.
But once you get into the mid game and stuff, you might want to take it.
Okay, cool. Is that it? Should we go?
So yeah. Yeah, pretty good. On most other places, I'd say take extra herbs, but the runes don't really have any nasty debuffs. That's the thing. The bandages and the antidote cure damage over time effects. The holy water will give your heroes buffs to their resistances, and the herbs cure debuffs, which they're probably the most powerful of those.
Gotcha. Which is funny because I always think of damage and poison being the scarier things, and if I'm going to skimp on anything, it's probably something that is about debuffs. It's I have a natural tendency to ignore debuffs.
The thing is that there are some debuffs in this game that are either really nasty or last a really long time.
All right. Well, let's get started.
Yeah. Also, keep in mind, what I told you are the minimums, and if you're going on like a medium mission, multiply that by 2. If you're going on a long mission, multiply that by 3.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so here's our map. We're down at the bottom, and so there are all kinds of places we can go. Start moving.
So you're currently in a
select
room.
Destination. I'm at the door. Right, never mind.
Yeah.
Select the destination. Here we go. Now we're in one of these spaces. So walk, walk, walk. Ooh, a torch. Free torch. Yes. So, okay, so up
I
here
hate
at the
when
top,
this thing skips.
this is our light level, right?
Yeah.
So right now light is good,
Yeah.
but as it gets lower, I
So-
get more vulnerable to fear and stuff, right?
Basically, yeah, so the big things that, hold up, I just want to explain the light level. So the big things that light level does is, so every like 25 light, it goes from 0 to 100. Every 25 is like a new notch that adjusts things. When it's high, you have additional chance to dodge, additional chance to scout every time you hit a room, which scouting is a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
Additional chance that monsters will be surprised, which means first round, all of your guys get to go first.
Cool.
Every time the light level drops, other than losing some of those, it increases the chance that monsters will surprise you. It increases monsters' damage and accuracy. It increases their crit rate a little bit, but also yours. And most importantly, below 50,
Mhm.
it will start increases the number of loot draws you get while looting something.
Oh, interesting.
And you can deliberately snuff the torch by shift clicking up there
Which I
to increase the. I wouldn't do that right
Yeah.
now, to increase the loot you get.
Okay,
Also,
so-
every one of your torches provides 25 light. So every time you drop below 75 or drop to 75, use a torch.
Okay, so I want to keep it high right now. So right now I'm still
Yeah.
above 75, but just barely. I move forward.
Normally, you want to keep it maxed out.
Okay, yeah, so my light just went down, so it's time for me to use one of my torches. And I buffed it up again.
Also, you can use torches just by left-clicking up top on the torch icon.
Okay, cool. By the way, so La Coalición wanted to make a comment that the guy who was selling his stuff in the store looks like Rasputin, which I agree. Cogs is reminding us that we are coming up close on an hour for this episode, and so we should probably cut it soon. I think we should probably get through this entire mission before we cut an episode. So let's get through that.
So this is going to be another important thing to look at people's statuses, because since there's only 2 guys and they're low health, you're going to want to rush them down, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But look at your one attack you can use on them with your Plague Doctor here,
It's a bleed
and then
attack.
look at their status.
They got 200% bleed resistance, so I would
Yeah.
have to like have some ridiculous, massive bleed chance to even impact these bloodless skeletons. Well, that makes sense.
By the way, this is how I figured out that those percentage resistances aren't actually percentages. I was like, wait, why do you need 200?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, so
okay, so this is not going to have a bleed
basically
effect
all
on
of
them.
basically all the undead enemies in the runes, which are the most common enemy type, are effectively immune to bleed.
Okay, but no reason for me not to use this ability anyway, just because it will do damage in addition
Yeah,
to
unless you want to buff somebody's damage. Normally, I wouldn't recommend doing that, but in this case, buffing the Crusader might be a good idea because his
He's
main attack does bonus damage to these guys.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, let's give that a try. Who's next? So my healer. Oh, Judgment is. Let's see, what is it? This heals her, which she doesn't need, but also damages any enemies that I want.
All right, I forgot to explain those damage multipliers. Basically, with the skills doing damage, essentially, you have a base damage determined by your equipment.
Yeah.
Based on your class,
4 to 8
and then
for this
that just
character.
modifies that damage that you have.
Okay, so this one is doing negative 25% damage. That means that she's actually doing 3 to 6 damage with this attack, not 4 to 8.
One thing is, if you select that skill and highlight an enemy, you can actually see the damage range.
Oh, you're right. Hero damage 3 to 6. It's hidden behind my head, but hero damage 3 to 6.
And if the enemy has protection, it will factor that in too.
Oh, that's clever. Okay, cool. Well, let me just hit an enemy with lightning. There we go. Judgment of God. Now this guy, I can hit both of these guys with half damage. So that's like
so
two
that
to
might
5.
be
So
a
it might
good
be enough to
plan
take this
this
guy
case.
out.
Yeah, because you'll take one guy out and damage another, assuming the damage range is high enough.
Yeah, so 3 to 5 is
minimum
so I'm gonna
damage.
take this guy out if I
Now,
hit him.
One downside is this attack has lower accuracy than the other attacks do.
Oh, gotcha. So I've got a
your
75% chance to hit,
little
but if
bit
I
less
hit, it's
likely.
really good. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna risk it. Nice.
Confidence surges as the enemy crumbles.
When monsters either leave corpses. Okay, so yeah, so we've got the corpse here, which basically preserves the rank, the sort of the placement order of these enemies, so that if we had like a complicated,
it's called rank order.
yeah, so like if we had a complicated array of enemies that were really dependent on a certain rank order, me killing one wouldn't immediately reshuffle it. I have to actually fight through the corpse in order to get them to reshuffle.
Unless you kill them with the damage over time or a crit.
All right, so let's use. Was one of these particularly good against undead? Oh yes, plus
So-
50% damage against unholy. This one.
Yeah, undead are called unholy in this, basically.
So
you
this
can
is a-
also see the enemy's type when you hover over it.
So 9 to 18 damage. So I could have actually taken this character out undamaged, and it would have been just fine.
Yeah.
Die, Skelly.
Executed with impunity.
Grab some stuff, and then. Okay, so unlock strongbox.
Hold up. So something I want to explain.
Yes.
So for one, it's unlocked, which means you don't need a key. But the way this works, basically, see how some of your things are highlighted? Those are all the things you can try to use on various curios
So
or
I can't shove
treasure
food
chests
into
you
the
find.
keyhole, but,
Yeah. So see how they all have question marks next to them?
Mhm.
So you don't need the anti-venom for this dungeon, so try dragging the well, actually, no, you won't see it. Never mind.
But it would now tell
basically,
me that it would have no effect?
So if you had more anti-venom in here, you'd now have an X there to indicate that it doesn't have any effect when you try to use it. And
Is
if
that
you,
a fairly new feature? I feel like that didn't... I was always trying random
wasn't-
crap on curios before.
It wasn't there originally, but it's not super new.
Okay, I think it might be super new for me,
also,
because the last time I played this was ages ago.
If something does work on an object, it will show a symbol to indicate what sort of thing you get out of it.
Okay, cool. So
And
should I just open
most
this?
objects only have one thing that works. For this one, you just open it. Sometimes you get a bad effect with it. Usually you get treasure.
Haha, the contents are mine. A new
handsome
shovel,
reward
some money, and a
For a
jade.
task well performed.
Sweet.
Yeah, so jade, by the way, is a gem, which is basically just stackable money that's rarer than money, but you can, if you have like large stacks of them, they amount to more than a full stack of money.
Okay,
Because
got it.
inventory management is a thing.
So I can move to this room, but notice I scouted when I opened up the map. So there was just a random chance of that,
Yeah.
right? Was that what it was?
Yeah, you can actually see the chance when you're doing provisions because there's things that modify it. And now that you've scouted this, not only can you make informed decisions, none of the combat encounters that you run into that you've scouted can surprise you.
Cool. Okay,
Also,
so
if you hover your mouse over the icons, you can like see the text of what they indicate.
this is a battle. This is a curio. Of course, no one can see where my cursor is, but this is a curio. This is a curio. That's a battle. This is an obstacle. Okay, so I'm glad I've got shovels, because we're going to run into an obstacle. So we need to go there. So let's go find this obstacle. There it is. Let's use a shovel.
Cold stone seems
So we only took...
preventing
So,
passage.
no matter
You
what...
didn't use the shovel.
What?
You did not use a shovel. When
Oh.
you use items, you do not hit the hand icon. You hit the item.
Dang it. Okay,
Icon.
that was not very clear to me.
Yeah, so now all of your people have a bunch of stress. And by the way,
Sweet.
stress is generally speaking worse than damage because it's a lot harder to recover.
Oh, cool. All right, well, I'm going to at least get the torch out to fix the light problem that I incurred.
Keep the torch up because that also, the other thing torch affects is your stress. So this one,
Oh, we should point
Now
out, by
I
the way,
can
to the
teach
audience,
you.
stress is the little white cells underneath my health. So you
Yes.
can see who has got high
So-
stress and who has low stress.
you have a max of 200 stress, but when it hits 100, which is when it fills up the bar, that's when bad stuff starts happening.
When characters start going crazy and turning into
Yeah.
weirdos. And I love it, by the way, that it's less common, but some of the responses to stress are actually positive, and the character turns into
Yeah, but
badasses under stress.
Usually it's really bad and it snowballs because a character who's afflicted, which is what it means when something bad happens when you're stressed out.
Yeah.
They don't just get debuffs. They also sometimes do stupid things on their turns, and they will regularly increase stress on everyone else.
Yeah, they'll like say crazy things that freak all the other people out. It's pretty funny actually watching it happen.
If you're afflicted and you max out at 200 stress, you get heart attack, which takes you immediately down to 0 health, which doesn't kill you, because the death store mechanic in this game. Basically, you can't die until you hit 0 health, and then every attack that hits you has a chance to kill you.
Gotcha. All right.
But if you're at 0, the heart attack just kills you. So before you do anything,
yes.
So general, really important strategy. Because stress is so bad, if any enemy can just directly deal stress to you, that's usually someone you want to focus down immediately. And usually they're in the back line.
Okay, so this human right here is probably particularly dangerous, so maybe I should use my plague grenade on them?
Yeah. So you want to focus on either like stunning or killing those stress casters in most combats immediately. Unfortunately, your Plague Doctor doesn't have a stun on him, which would be really helpful here, because they're also usually fast.
Stressful incantation. Oh no, I'm getting stressed. Oh, should I use
so
my torch in the middle of combat?
Yeah, bump the torch up. Using items during combat doesn't waste any turns.
Okay, good.
So now you want to have Dismas here target her too. You want to make sure she is going to die before she gets to do that again.
Okay, so I could target her specifically, or I could hit everyone at once.
Do as much damage to her as you can. You want to focus people down most of the time.
All right, so she's
now check if that blight is going to kill her on her next turn.
4 damage, and she's got 3 hit points, so she's out.
Okay, so now you're good. So now you can either use your vessel to attack someone else or use it to get a little bit of healing.
Okay, yeah, so I feel like we're not hurt enough to be worth using the healing, so I think I'm gonna attack somebody. Let's attack the guy with less health.
Yeah, and notice that guy in the front also has protection.
Ah, okay, cool. Whoa, bunch of damage to Dismas. I know what Vestals doing next time. So, alright, so I've got this Zealous Accusation that hits both guys in front for less damage, but it's probably enough to kill the second guy, so...
You could do that. Alternatively, because those front 2 guys are slow, you might alternatively want to stun one of these 2 guys and then kill with somebody else. You can probably do either in this case and have it work out.
So this guy's stun resistance is 25%, so we're probably okay. Let's give it a try. Okay, yeah, so he's stunned, and now both of them are vulnerable. Like, they could be killed in one hit probably by another attack. Now I've got Dismas here.
So you can probably take the risk on his AoE, because if he misses, other people can clean up.
Boom! Take that!
Nice. Usually you don't get to kill 3 people at once with that attack.
That was great. Okay, so... But we weren't actually officially in a room, we were just in a hallway, so... Hallway battles, by the way, tend to have either less enemies or weaker enemies in them. With room battles, you're generally going to be facing 4, decent strength enemies. Okay, so we've got a battle with Treasure to the north, and we've got just a battle with Curio to the east. Do we care which one we do? Should we eventually try to do both?
Sometimes we care. In this case, I would say try to do both. In fact, in this specific case, I would go for the Curio first, because I know it's a healing Curio that heals stress.
Okay, that sounds good. So we'll move. So the only thing we've got in this hallway is a Curio, because we scouted ahead.
Yeah.
Let's,
You always want the map open, by the way, because sometimes when you haven't scouted, or when you're just not paying attention, you can miss that something shows up on the map before you reach it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool. So here comes a battle with a Curio.
Cogs, the enemies do not take stress.
Yeah, the enemies are like, this is like the Briar Patch for them. They're like, oh no, do I have to live in a horrible, horrifying ruin? Oh, it's so scary.
I'm actually going to just let you play this combat out, partially because I need water, but also because I'm not here to micromanage
judge me.
you. But I will be right back. I'm Gain Water. Have fun with this combat.
Okay, so we've got a guy with high hit points in the back. He's probably pretty dangerous because I haven't seen him before. But yeah, so this is like, Cloudcraft is emphasizing the fact that we should be focusing people down. Basically, focusing your fire on one person and taking them down so that the enemy is doing fewer attacks each turn. And that makes a lot of sense. And so that makes me want to actually kind of ignore this guy at first, because it would take so much longer to focus him down, and I might be able to take these guys out better. My bleed attack won't be that great against them. So the question is, do I want to focus one of them down with a pistol shot, which will do 4 to 8 damage, probably taking about half his health away? Or do I want to do this grape shot blast on everyone, which does 2 to 4 damage, which means probably no one is going to be in position to be killed the very next turn. Let's make somebody vulnerable to being killed in the next turn in case that is an opportunity. Okay, so now we've got the Plague Doctor, who can use both their attacks. So again, I could focus on this enemy in the back, but I think with Incision, I might be able to just take this guy out entirely. Okay, so less damage is going to be hitting me overall. This guy's going to fire a quarrel at me, and I'm going to dodge! Yes! Okay, so I'm going to go, let's see here. So I could heal myself while doing damage to this guy, 2 to 5 damage. Might not be enough to really help that much. So I think I'm actually going to heal Dismas. Keep him sort of on an even keel. Just in time, because he just took a bunch of additional damage.
You got really unlucky with these skill draws. I mean, I've seen worse once, but not much worse.
Oh, I'm having fun. This is great. This is just what I love. Okay, so part of me's kind of tempted actually to help destroy that dead body with an attack. Because I think when this guy is out of position, I'm betting he's a little less useful.
Yeah, that would be accurate.
So we've moved him up now, so he might not be able to do some of his other attacks. So now, let's see here. So if I hit this guy... Wait a minute. Oh, I can't hit the front guy with this attack. So I can either shoot the guy in the back for 5 to 9 damage, which could potentially be very good, or I can hit this guy in the front for 4 to 8, potentially killing him. I think I'd rather kill this guy so that his attacks don't happen. And then we can worry about the next guy.
Yeah.
And let's keep healing Dismas, who's apparently our tank. And then...
Yeah, I have a lot of combat advice I could give, but I don't want to overload you, and it takes time to work some of this out.
And also, I defeated them, so I'm awesome, no matter what you say.
Okay, so this one, I'm just going to spoil this.
Yes.
So basically, there's 2 ways to figure out what all the curios do and what the interactions are. One is a whole bunch of trial and error.
Yes.
The other one is to get sick of trying to remember all of them and just have the wiki open all the time, which is what I've resorted to.
Okay, cool.
So for this one, just using this one. So, a little note. So when you use items on curios, usually what you do is you do 2 things. You remove the randomness by doing that, and you make the result better. Some items, there isn't much randomness, and this is one of them. This will always heal you and de-stress you, but if you use holy water on it, it will heal and de-stress more.
So I'm inclined to give it to Murdoch because he's my most stressed character, and I assume it'll only heal the one character I have selected when I interact with it. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Any negative effects will also, in most cases, only hit the one character who interacts with it.
Because the Vestal has the ability to keep healing Dismas, I feel like his health is less of a risk than the stress, which no one has the ability to heal outside of camping.
Yeah, for a short term, just worrying about this mission, yes.
So I'm going to try Holy Water. And yes, we healed 12 and his stress went down. So cool. All right.
Yep, So now you're done with that. So you don't need to hit up that treasure room, but you probably want to.
I do want to. There are no half measures in my team's missions.
Oh, by the way, another little note. When you're backtracking, you actually use up less torch and are less likely to get a hunger check. But occasionally traps or enemy encounters will appear where they weren't before.
How do I tell who's good at disarming traps? I mean, I assume it's like people like the highwaymen, but...
right click on your characters. So with their resistances, they also have a trap skill.
50% is his trap skill.
Yeah, so check
20.
everyone. Also, if you successfully disarm a trap, you get a little bit of stress healing.
Okay, yeah. So
but
it looks
only
like
for the character who disarms it.
Dismas is my choice, so we'll give it a try. Oh, but he failed.
Wow, that... Oh
Minds
my
of such
god, you are just
missteps are
rolling the worst
unacceptable.
luck. That
I love
almost
it.
never fails.
I love it. Okay, so this was an abandoned room. It doesn't have a fight in it or anything. So we'll probably just torch up and
The light,
backtrack.
the promise of
Not
safety.
not really backtracking,
Yeah.
but you know.
Also, anytime you're entering a room that you, Oh, did you just walk over the trap?
I meant
With
to.
a singular purpose.
I think the problem is you walking over the trap instead of
Well,
activating it.
How do I all I'm doing is clicking on it. I'm highlighting it and clicking
so you
on it.
need to kind of inch up to it until you're close with your character selected and hover your mouse over the trap.
Okay, that's probably what I did both times then. Was just
Yeah,
walk
that's
into
probably...
it.
Yeah, this is stuff the game should explain. So, you made a mistake here, which is as you entered, your torch went down and you
Oh.
didn't light it up. So there's slightly more chance of them surprising you. And when you get surprised, all your characters get rearranged.
Gotcha. Okay, so luckily that rearrangement did not happen.
Yeah. But you want to keep it high most of the time.
Okay, so I could try to heal Dismas, but I think the amount of healing this guy can do is just not worth it. So
Yeah, so the main purpose of his healing is to cure damage over time before it can do a lot of damage.
that makes sense. So I think
Remember, you want to focus that stress caster, especially with your people really stressed out already.
That's true.
You want to put all the damage you can on her.
what I was thinking was that because she's already moved this turn, I might be able to save myself some damage by taking down, like, say, this the skeleton guy. Before he has a
You
chance to act at all.
probably could, but it's more important to make sure she doesn't get to act, and she's also really fast than to be most efficient. Like, it's okay to use a really strong attack to kill somebody who's really dangerous, even though they only had 1 health.
All right, I'll take your word for it. I hope Dismas doesn't get killed. Okay, good. We can heal Dismas.
So it would take 2 attacks to kill Dismas right now.
All right, then.
So you may want
This guy
to have
can't hit
him set himself up as a tank right now, or stun somebody.
So
Because when
Neither of these guys can still
he
attack.
focuses the attacks on himself, he also gets protection, so it reduces the damage.
let's see if I can stop this guy.
Well
Ooh, a
struck.
crit. Nice. I finally rolled something well. Oh, and that crit,
Yeah,
it
so
gave multiple
crits-
people de-stress.
Yeah, so crits are really powerful. They do a lot of damage. They de-stress your people, and you see that your front line has a buff now.
Yes.
So every time somebody crits on an attack, they get a temporary buff based on their class.
Oh, that's cool. So this person gets a protection buff, for instance.
Yeah, crits are just really good.
Okay, well, Dismas is in huge trouble, but we're going to do our best to take her down. Oh, and she dodges. Great.
Yeah, she's also very dodgy. So I would put another grenade on her.
Oh
you-
my gosh.
Well, yep.
Oh no! Okay. Whew.
He's also very dodgy.
Wow, if anything had gone right, this would not be happening. No!
Yeah, so I actually,
Ah!
on your first turn, I actually wouldn't have healed Dismas. I would have tried to hit her with the Vestal, just to make sure she went down.
Okay, so he's at death's door.
So
but we
yeah,
can still
so
heal him.
now that he's at death's door, he actually gets debuffs for being at death's door, and if you heal him once, he can't be killed with a single attack, but he'll also have debuffs for the rest of the mission.
But that's not a reason to not heal him, right?
Oh no, that's... The debuff isn't as bad once you heal him than when he's at death's door.
Okay, good. Oh yeah, you're right. It's a simpler.
Yeah, so one of the reasons the Vestals, like, healing everybody's skill, which you don't have right now, is so good, is you can even have multiple people at death's door, and she can save all of them. And
That makes
heal up
sense.
everyone else.
Oh, she died
In
from
addition
blight.
to the fact
Good.
that everyone gets hit.
This is
Oh,
how
so
life is.
this guy took minimum damage.
Oh, that's... So,
He's
now
bleeding.
it's even doubly important to heal him, because bleeds, like damage over time, can also kill you on death's door.
So let's maybe cure bleed on him. There. This guy's a lot
Yeah,
safer.
do though, when you take a bleed or something, check how much damage it's doing, because sometimes you should just ignore it.
Disadvantage.
Gotcha. Okay,
Give them
cool.
no quarter.
Well,
That's
we
why I
survived.
didn't
That was rough,
recommend-
though.
bringing the items to heal that stuff. So wait before you do this chest. Actually, wait. Actually, no, don't. I shouldn't show you this right now. That would make things dangerous. Just do the chest.
Okay, so should I use a key on the chest?
Yeah, with these chests, you always want to use keys.
Hidden compartment, jade, food, crest, yay.
By the way, when it comes to loot, like generally speaking, if you happen to loot a trinket, prioritize that over most other things. Prioritize heirlooms over money most of the time.
Okay, because heirlooms are longer term buffs.
Yeah,
benefits.
except maybe busts. Those are less important than the other ones.
Okay. So here we've got a curio.
Ah, there we go. I was waiting for Kleptomaniac to trigger. So Reynold also has one of the worst quirks in the game.
He just steals things.
So basically, there are some quirks that make them automatically interact with items. All of them are bad. Kleptomaniac is one of the worst because it interacts with all like items that generally hold treasure, like any box or chest or anything. And he steals the items.
Nice.
But it's also bad because if there's like an advantage you could get by using an item on it, or like there's a nasty thing that can happen if you don't, he'll just trigger that.
So I've just run myself out of torches, and I used a little bit of extra food to get Dismas out of the as much damage.
You should be fine though, because you're like this
Close
next
to the
room
end.
completes the mission, and if you want to explore one more room to get like a little more treasure, you can, and I recommend you do, because while keeping these guys de-stressed is good, it's less important right now than just getting treasure.
Okay, so we're gonna walk through here. There's it looks like a book. Oh no, this is an obstacle.
Yeah, so aren't you glad you brought an extra shovel now?
Yes, I am glad. Now I click the shovel instead of clicking the accept button.
Yes.
And so we
And
can't
now nothing
increase
bad
our light,
happens.
but that's fine.
No, you can actually increase your light, because one of your people's skills actually increases the light level.
Oh, okay. Which
Oh,
one is it?
okay, so this is really good. So you surprise them, so you get attacked first. We'll get to that. I will say, though, that guy holding a goblet back there, he's another stress guy.
So I should
you
probably
want
try to hit
focus,
him with a plasma.
Yeah,
I almost said
especially
plasma
now,
grenade. Plague grenade.
Plague. Yeah, especially now that you can actually hit two people with it.
Yeah, exactly. So less damage up front, but it does blight them over time. Just
Yeah,
he's the one
again-
who got the blight. That's good.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Usually you'll get both of them. Wait, did you miss the other guy? I didn't see.
I think it hit them both, but I think the blight chance
yeah.
is lower on this guy.
That's
he resisted
so,
10%, I guess.
Wait, what's the resistance on the goblet guy?
They're both the same.
Oh, they're both
10%.
the same, huh? Okay,
guess they
that
rolled
doesn't matter.
independently.
That was my own curiosity. So yeah, focus down the stress guy. Really important.
Okay, I think he's out of the picture now.
Yeah, he's done. So now, your tanking skill, the shield skill, if you look at it, it also increases the torch level.
Oh, so I can do that, raise the torch level.
Yeah, so this is why I said with some parties you don't necessarily need to bring as many torches.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so now she could damage some people. Maybe it's more important for her to damage some people right now.
Yeah, generally speaking, you want to heal closer to the end of fights if somebody's not in desperate straits. I would probably have her target the back guy because the two front guys both have protection.
All right. And that guy dies. This guy moves up.
But yeah,
Probably still
the
use some,
typical pattern of battle is focus down the really nasty like stress casters or like support characters on the back line.
Why is everyone attacking Dismas?
Yeah, then whittle them down, and then like near the end you use healing skills to help yourself top up, but you also sometimes use them to stay off death's door.
That makes sense. So
Yeah, so this is really unfortunate because you can't use the Plague Doctor to counteract their protection because he doesn't have moves that work on them in the front rank that actually work on them.
we did take that guy down with blight. That was nice.
Yeah, so that guy was their highest damage dealer. So you're in a good spot. So now you want to do a combination of stuns and damage.
That guy seemed the most dangerous, so I stunned him.
Yeah.
And then...
By the way, if the enemies feel a little samey early on, that's because you're playing on Apprentice difficulty. Once you go up to Veteran, they get new attacks sometimes. Their existing attacks get new effects. All of their stats get bumped up significantly, and entirely new enemies start showing up.
I just realized I should probably be attacking the non-stunned guy, because if I can get ahead of him...
Well, yeah, more or less. But also, keep in mind the stun guy is going to have stun resistance next turn. So you might want to attack him so you can finish him off when you can't stun him.
That makes sense.
Be gone, fiend.
But now that guy's dead. And so stunning blow, no point in doing that.
So now would be a good time, if this guy survives this, for the Vestal to focus on healing, because there's only one guy left.
That makes sense. But
So they can't out-damage your healing. But
now
yeah,
there's
he
0
died.
guys left. Yay, I found some stuff.
Seize this
And then I can
momentum.
also...
Yeah.
Push on
And
to the task
including
at hand.
deeds, which are the most important early on of the heirlooms.
So, by the way, so I used all my keys. As I understand it, all of the supplies that I did not use on the mission are just lost, right?
You get a little bit of money back for them, but that's it.
Gotcha. Okay, so there's no reason when
if you hover over them, you can see how much you get. It's tiny.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so there's basically no reason for me not to use, like to conserve them or whatever. I just want to use them.
The objective when you go in is to go in with just enough stuff to do all the interactions and any critical like recovery stuff you need, and to use all of the stuff you brought.
Let's see. Okay. La Coalition, I'll probably answer a few more questions after we get to the end of this episode, which is pretty quick because we just finished this mission. Let's do
Let's cut
whatever
the video
wrap-up
as soon as we get
here.
back to town.
Okay, so Reynold just got a negative quirk.
Yeah, so at the end of each mission, your guys get experience based on the mission. So everyone's at resolve level 1 now. And they also randomly get negative and positive quirks. And what doesn't show you on this screen is sometimes their negative quirks will lock in.
Oh, okay.
But we'll get to that.
The tent
Severe negative quirks.
Severe.
Fly, and the corpse wagon.
Yeah, so this is telling us that basically, if I keep negative quirks for a long time, they can get worse and be locked in, and I can't heal them anymore.
So they don't actually get worse. It's just you can still heal them. It just costs a lot more.
Oh, got it. Okay, so this is
also
Circus. It's DLC, right?
Every week in town, after you do the mission, there's a chance of town events, which will usually have positive effects. Which this one's kind of just trying to encourage you to get into the DLC, really.
Okay, I think I'll skip that for now.
And then the mission summary, and then we should probably wrap up as soon as you're done reading this.
Okay, so do you want to
Or
wrap
wrap
up now,
up
and then we'll
this
get into
video.
town stuff in the next episode?
Yeah.
All right, great. Well, then let me switch over to my end screen. So thank you, everybody, for watching this so far. Cloudcraft and I are going to continue, go on another couple of expeditions, see a little bit more of Darkest Dungeon 2, and that's going to be in another video. So you click on that video if you want to continue with us. You can hit that button to subscribe, all that stuff if you're watching this later on YouTube. Those of you who are watching live, we're going to continue. I don't know how long 20 seconds is.